all my fight fans. So, there's been some rumblings going on ever since Crawford and Spence fight took place. Ever since Crawford was able to do what he was able to do. Like, Crawford pretty much made a huge statement to the world, to history of boxing, to the history of the welterweight division. There's a few things I got to say regarding that. One of them is Crawford is by far one of the greatest welterweights of all time. Hate it or love it, it's fact. See, after seeing that fight take place, I was literally mesmerized, I should say, taken back, in all these other words that you can possibly use, because we have never, quite possibly, I would have to look at every single fight in the welterweight history to really see if this is true. But we have never ever seen anybody in the welterweight history do what Crawford did that night. Just think about this, guys. Think about it. You got the two best fighters in the world. Both of them could be argued for being pound for pound number one. Both of them relatively in their prime. Sure, they're a little bit towards the end of the prime, but still close enough. And Terence Crawford was able to do what he did to Errol Spence. So again, look at this. Errol Spence could be possibly pound for pound number one. Errol Spence spent all his time at welterweights, beating a lot of great welterweights, like Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Chris Algieri, Kell Brook, Lamont Peterson. He did not fight like cherry-picked opponents his entire welterweight career. He did not. He's fighting the upper echelon guys, the top level guys. That's what he did. It's fact. And scheduled to fight Manny Pacquiao, but we already know what happened there. He was by far quite possibly the bigger opponent going into that fight with Terence Crawford. I'm talking about Spence still. So you got all those with Spence. Basically, Spence literally being such a great opposition. Great. Like I said, young, in his prime, fought the who's who in the welterweight division, quite possibly could be pound for pound number one. Still in the top of his game. Terence Crawford was able to go in there and make him look almost amateurish. Terence Crawford was able to do anything he wanted to Errol Spence. Terence Crawford dropped Errol Spence 3 times. First in Errol's career. Nobody was able to do that. Terence Crawford was able to stop Errol Spence. Nobody was able to do that. He did that to what I just mentioned. Almost could be pound for pound number one, top of his game, prime, young, strong, all those above. He was able to do that to that guy. Now, what I want to tell you guys is this, or ask you guys, is name somebody else in welterweight history that was able to do that. Name somebody who was able to fight somebody at the top of the game, could have been pound for pound number 1 or 2, was in their prime, was young enough, was a beast in their division. Who? The only person I could possibly think of is Sugar Ray Leonard with the Roberto Duran 2. See, I'm not talking about the back and forth war. Because, yeah, of course, there's a lot of wars. You know, Oscar De La Hoya had wars. Shea Mosley had wars. Everybody had wars. But name a performance like Terence Crawford. Somebody was able to dominate just like Terence Crawford did. Somebody who was able to completely annihilate a person of Sean Porter's credentials. Some person of Errol Spence. Of some person of Errol Spence's credentials, of his resume, of his record, or whatever you want to call it. Look at that performance and show me another person that was able to do the exact same thing to exact same person like Errol Spence. I literally feel it's unheard of. I feel like Terence Crawford is literally on top of the mountain of his own. Like it doesn't exist. Something that quite possibly Floyd, De La Hoya, Shane Mosley, Hearns, or Duran, Leonard, that none of these guys were able to do to someone like Errol Spence, like in their generation. Because of course we all say, well, you know, if you would have faced Tommy Hearns and this, that, like, I'm not talking about that. We're not talking about fantasy. We're talking about reality, and reality is who were they able to do in that division at their time. You can say whatever you want to say at their time, but don't matter. At their time, like Sugar Ray Leonard, was he able to do that to somebody? And I do feel like he did that to Roberto Duran. He was able to stop him. First time, I believe, in Duran's career. I could be wrong on that. You know, he did have some really good competition fights and such like that. You know, Sugar Ray Leonard is one of my favorites of all time. We've seen that in other classes, like Roy Jones. You know, we saw how crazy and great he was with his hand speed and such. But just doing it to somebody who could have been pound for pound number one, someone that's undefeated, somebody that was on top of their game, somebody that was still in their prime, someone that was still young enough. It's just unheard of. It really truly is. So that's my question to you guys. Name another fighter that was able to do what Terence Crawford did. Please let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.